Finally, Kevin Barker, we got a sweep. We should have bought a broom in here or something.
I told you. Told you it's going to happen. Listen to me next time.
3-1, the Blue Jays beating the Chicago White Sox yesterday. That is a 3-game sweep for my Blue Jays. And the Jays have today off before they start a 3-game series.
Such a front runner. You are.
I'm a non-runner.
Pick a side.
Yeah, the Jays have today off before they start a 3-game series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. It is, of course, City Connect Jersey Week.
Yeah.
And the jersey will debut on the field tomorrow night. Monday, which is June 3rd, will be a Vlad bobblehead giveaway.
I want one of those.
And Wednesday, June 5th, will be the Blue Jays backpack giveaway with the City Connect design.
Well, I'll get you one of those.
And the Jays will be wearing the uniform in the field.
Yeah.
3 of those nights. So there you go.
That's awesome.
The City Connect jersey's coming out, and everybody on social media has been crapping themselves the last 4 or 5 days can finally go back to having their lives. I just mind-boggling.
People really care that much?
It's. I mean, I get it's a jersey. And I remember covering the Montreal Expos when Claude Brochu decided that he was going to put the fleur-de-lis, the Quebec provincial logo on the Expos jersey, which I really liked. I thought it was terrific. But, oh, my God, it created – there was such a political storm in Quebec. I mean, it was a symbol of Quebec separatism and all this. It was, I thought it was a genius marketing ploy by the Expos at the time to really kind of reinforce their status in the province. It also happened to be at a time when they were trying to get the province to kick in money for a new ballpark. But I lived through that, and I just thought, people, it is a baseball uniform, and it looked great, but you would think that the imposition of this logo, it would be the same thing if the Blue Jays took the maple leaf off their logo.
Yep.
People would get all worked up in arms. I mean, you know me, I don't like nationalist logos on anything. I just don't. To me, it's a sports event, not a political event. But anyhow, the new jerseys will be out today, and they'll be available tomorrow, and everybody can go back to being happy and worrying about important things. This is such a good segue. And worrying about important things like Alek Manoah's elbow. Alek Manoah left last night's game after an inning in 2/3, with elbow discomfort. He was scheduled to undergo an MRI today. And I don't imagine we'll know the result of the MRI today. We may have to wait until tomorrow for that. But let's hear from Alek Manoah. This is a post-game interview he did with Hazel May after last night's game, after his exit. So let's hear what Alek Manoah said, and then Kevin, we can come back and take a deeper dive into what this might mean for the Blue Jays.
And what was that feeling like when you released that 0-1 pitch?
Yeah, it was just I feel like I was just guarding it. Like during my warm-ups and like that first inning.
Sounds like circus music.
And like even a little bit in that second inning. And then kind of just mentally told myself like, hey, just stop thinking about it. Like, it's just a little achy. Like it's fine.
He's talking.
Mostly bothers me when I like extend. So I think mentally when I told myself like, don't think about it. Like I didn't guard it, and I kind of just got more extension than I was the previous pitches, and I just kind of just felt really pinchy, and at that point, like mentally, I was just like, do I keep grinding through this and maybe make it worse, or just hand the ball to somebody else?
That is Alek Manoah, and Kevin. That was, we got a text from our friend Caleb Joseph as soon as he threw the last pitch, saying he's squeezing his hand. That's a sign of an elbow issue. It's not a good sign. Of course, we'll await the result of the MRI, and knock on wood, we hope for the best.
Praying for him, yeah.
For Alek Manoah, Trevor Richards came in and
outstanding.
I mean, outstanding is you want to talk about
Put your big boy pants on.
You want to talk about sacking up?
There it is.
He sacked up.
I didn't want
3 in
to
the
say
third
it.
innings.
Let
Well,
you
I
say
can say
it.
it. Well, let me say it. 3 in the third innings, and the Jays, as I said, went on to get a 3-1 win over the Chicago White Sox. But look, I guess, I mean, there's no good news with Alek Manoah's injury, obviously, but the fact that Bowden Francis appears, based on everything we've been told, appears to be ready to return off the IL might alleviate some of the concern. But my understanding was, I think Bowden Francis's last outing was 3 in the third innings. So I don't know if you can necessarily expect him to come in and be your quote-unquote fifth starter. We were led to believe that Yariel Rodriguez was being that the Jays' plans were to work him into the bullpen mix. I don't know, Kevin. Maybe that's changed now. Maybe you go back to what we had at the start of the year where you have Yariel Rodriguez
maybe it's
and
not
Bowden
his fault.
Francis
I remember that
piggybacking.
too.
Right, but
Yeah.
it's not his fault, but they got to do something. And that would appear to be one of the options.
I know Trevor Richards going multiple innings. I know Bowden Francis can go multiple innings. I mean, right there, you figure give you probably somewhere in the range of 6 innings. All things are equal, and everybody's doing what they're supposed to do.
You know what, though? I hate the idea of having to rely. I want Trevor Richards available 7 days a week.
High leverage. There you go, just to change up the arm speed and, the location of the fastball. I mean, he can do it in different quadrants. He can get lefties out like he's a weapon, right? And you have to use that weapon to eat innings to give a lineup a chance to have a big inning. I'm not sure that's what's best for your team, but maybe this is just sort of what they have to do. I'm not sure there's anybody else at the minor league level you want to be calling up trying to hope and pray that they give you, a decent start to give a lineup a chance. So they're sort of a rock and a hard place here, but I'm sure they'll fill in the blanks there. Again, some of the guys in the lineup are starting to look a little bit better. Maybe that'll give them a little bit more confidence to be able to, I don't want to say throw anybody out there, but, if guys are scoring some more runs, looking a little better at the plate, hitting some more homers, maybe that would give Pete Walker and John Snyder a little bit more confidence to maybe throw a guy out there they really don't want to throw out there because of the way their lineup's looking. So, yeah, look, it is what it is, right? This is what you have to do. You said it last night, was it last night after the game that not too many teams have 5 legit starters? I mean, a lot of teams are going to have to, have been doing and are going to have to do what the Jays are about to have to do with their 5 spots.
The teams there have been teams that have been backfilling in that fifth spot all year long. Now, the problem for the Blue Jays is this had emerged as a real strength. And, if you want to go down the road of potentially making a trade, which has been a talking point around here. One of the areas of strength was starting pitching. And if Alek Manoah needs to be shut down for a while and then you've got to build him up again, we don't know. But if that is the case, that's your starting rotation depth. Poof,
and
gone.
on the flip side of that, can Trevor handle this? Like, he's going from high leverage, 1 inning, meat of the order to, 2 or 3 innings and trying to add length, and it's a lot to ask. Mentally, physically, heart rate. Changing routines, just the quality of stuff he's running out there. Again, we talk about it's not his fault. Is it Trevor Richards' fault? Sooner or later he's probably going to be raising his hand and go, "Uncle, it's just this might be too much." So maybe I'm sure they're going to figure it out and do the best they can to try and again give the lineup a chance to have the big inning. That's what this ultimately comes down to is. Who gives them a better chance to do that? Maybe it is a Francis Rodriguez instead of a Francis Richards because you'd like to keep Richards. Do you have any idea what you're getting from Chad Green? Raise your hand if you do.
No. If
you're watching this show, anybody? I see your hands because I don't think, the way I've talked to people that are around that team, maybe they feel a little bit more confidence in him than a lot of people do. So, yeah, it's there's still some things there to iron out, and I'm sure they'll try and figure that part of it out. And, again, they're playing a team that they should have enough quality at bats. Starting pitching should be good enough to keep that team from scoring runs so that lineup can score enough runs to win most of the games.
The Jays are 26-29 right now with the 3 games against the Pirates coming up. Look, there's a chance. they could get out of that Pirates series at 500, maybe a game below 500. And then, of course, we talked about the schedule really bites. But it's funny. We spent the last 2 weeks, it seems, talking about trades. And I'm sure we're going to spend a lot of time talking about trades. But I just want to mention the St. Louis Cardinals here.
Mm-hmm.
Because 2 weeks ago, when we were looking at possible trade partners and social media or the national writers in the States were talking about teams that may need to do something, teams that may be looking to shake things up. The St. Louis Cardinals were very much one of those teams.
Sure.
St. Louis has gone 8-2 in their last 10 games. They're half a game out of a wild card spot. And the reason I'm mentioning this is one of the reasons it's not all that easy to make a trade like that, because with the wild card format, you are literally a good week away from being in a position where you can legitimately look at getting that wild card spot.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at St. Louis, a half game out now. Pittsburgh's coming into town. They're 2.5 out. The Washington Nationals, 4 games under 500, 2.5 out.
Yeah.
Go to the American League. We talked about the Blue Jays, 26-29, 4.5 out. Tampa Bay's 27-29, 2 games under 500, 4 out. Houston, 24-32, they're 7 back. So what I'm saying is, and the Jays have gone 6-4 in their last 10. The Rays have gone 3-7. Houston's gone 4-6. You are literally a good week away at any point in the season from finding yourself in a wild card spot, which is why they put it in the first damn place. But the reason I'm mentioning this is because that just kind of it should reinforce, and we're going to talk about this with David Samson in a few minutes. It should make it difficult for teams to make a call on what they see coming down the road. Remember, we talked about Alex. He said, I looked at run differential in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Our run differential was better than the Yankees. We had 11 games left against them. So I thought that we could make a move. Frankly, I thought we were a better team than the Yankees at that point in time. Then we make this move that makes us an even better team against the Yankees, and make a series of moves. So it just gets back, though, to the idea that, who's out of it? The White Sox are out of it. The Angels are out of it. Oakland's out of it. Houston's 7 back. Are they out of it? I don't know. I think Houston Astros aren't acting like they're out of it.
No.
So we have to keep that in mind about just how quickly this thing can turn around.
Yeah, it'd be nice if Turner got hot, if Vladdy starts hitting more homers, if Bo, goes on one of them streaks for a week where you can't get him out. Like, that's sort of what they need, right? They're going to face some good teams after Pittsburgh. Like, you're going to need your 3 big ones in the middle of that order. Dalton keep hitting homers and Davis Schneider keep doing what he's doing, leading off. Like, maybe George Springer starts consistently pulling velocity in the air.
Like we saw last night.
You need some guys to start doing some things all at the same time, I think, is to your point, because I think you feel like, for the most part, they can piece the pitching together.
They'll figure it out.
They'll figure that out. I mean, they got enough, and Pete Walker, in my mind, is the best pitching coach in baseball. They'll figure that out. Their rotation's good enough that it'll probably add some link. That might take a little pressure off the Chad Greens and the Trevor Richards and the Zach Pops of the world. Dare I say, he's all of a sudden going to probably start getting a few more, high leverage situations against some tough righties.
Pitching the way he has recently.
Well, that's uncomfortable. That's what that is. Like, that's nasty, late moving, a weird arm angle, and he just looks, mean enough and goofy enough out there that, you don't want to dig in. So good. It's like, for me, it's and it's always been the same conversation we're going to have with the Jays. Can somebody or somebody's in the middle of the order all at the same time start doing some special things? I said this. If they can't have a guy have an MVP month, can they have 2 or 3 that have above average months at the same time? If they do that, because of the way they pitch and the way they play outfield defense and their baseball IQ around the bases, for the most part, you would think they could go on a decent run and beat some quality teams that they're about to face.
What we've seen since George Springer has moved down in the order is we've started to see a George. Like, you would love to have seen this out of the leadoff spot for George Springer. Last night, a walk, 2 runs scored, and a hit.
Yep.
That I take that out of the leadoff spot all the time. But what has happened here? You talked about this on Blue Jays Talk last night. I thought it was a really good point. It's almost as if I'm not basing this just on one game. I don't want to base it on one game. But you know what? It's almost as if now the lineup looks like it's starting to lengthen out a bit. If you've got a guy, Springer, who's going to get on base down there, you've got a guy, Isaiah Kiner Falefa, and who knows where that's going to end up. But right now he's having good at bats. He's making good contact. He's having quality at bats. All of a sudden, you're starting to see a little bit of length added to that order.
Yeah.
And, I guess if you really want to go there, the question would be, why did it take so long to do it? But
fair question.
I think we can probably cobble together some sort of answer. And at this point, it's pointless to look back and say, why it didn't happen earlier? Because it didn't happen earlier.
No.
We can't.
It's happened now.
We cannot rewrite that history. But, yeah.
Looks like the pressure's lifted to me. Him hitting in the set. I don't know about you, but it just looks like he's got a little bit more giddy up in his step in the 7 hole right now.
He almost pulled that ball out of the park last night.
I mean, he's hitting it hard to the pull side and its velocity. That fastball at 95 was middle away. When's the last time you saw him take middle away heater and yank that thing to left center? It is rare. And for him to be doing that, his swing don't look any different. It's not like he's, IKF now all of a sudden doesn't have a leg kick. No, he ain't doing. Nothing's really changed. I mean, he's maybe moved his hands around a little bit to flatten out his barrel to give him a chance to get to different quadrants. But other than that, just seems to me like he's not overthinking it, and there's not as much pressure on him hitting in the 7. I said this to you, like there's pressure. Everybody yelling and screaming about, he's a Hall of Fame leadoff hitter. Look all them homers he'd hit. There's pressure there. There's no pressure in the 7 hole. Like, if he doesn't hit with runners on base in the 7 hole, you gonna pay any attention to that? I mean, you may a little, but you ain't gonna as much as if he was sitting in the leadoff spot. So good for them to make the change. And they're going to need multiple guys to step up all at the same time. That's the question. Can they?
What's your confidence level in Jordan Romano right now? He gave up a home run again yesterday. He's got a 6.59 ERA. The bullpen in general needs to be stabilized a little bit. But
the finicky velocity's confusing to me. It ain't like he's pitching every day. I mean, I don't.
Far from it.
Yeah, I just don't understand. I don't understand that part of it. I mean, by no means is he mechanically sound on the mound. Like, he's a crossfire guy, and he's more of a max effort, muscle his way through outings than he is to pitch his way through it. But that's the thing, right? It's okay if you're sort of want to abuse secondary stuff if you've got the 97 in the tank. But them things are more 94s now. Like, now all of a sudden your slider has to be tunneling longer. It has to break more. It has to be missing more on point. If not, you get destroyed because of it. Like, again, that was 94 middle up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that as your closer, I'm not sure. So, hopefully, look, he does what he's supposed to do, which is, I think, the only thing that matters right now in this part of the season is just get it done. Who cares how it looks? Like, it's, Jimmy Garcia's taking care of the hybrid role where it's the 7th or 8th inning. He's getting the meat of the order with the lead. Then you have to give it to whoever you're giving it to. And then Jordan comes in. He gives up a homer. So what? It's 3-1. They won the game. Good for him.
Yeah, that's, it is all about winning right now. And it really doesn't matter how you do it. It's all about winning. But the velocity would have to be. Have to be some concern.
Because he's really good when it's 97, 98. When it's 94, you got to pitch a little bit more, and that's hard to do. It's hard to pitch in the 9th inning. Sometimes you got to be able to throw that thing right by somebody, right? Yeah. Fastball count 0-0, 1-0, 2-1. Like, here it comes. See if you can hit it. And again, it's about winning. I mean, it doesn't really matter how it looks. So confidence level, hey, you got it done. So I'm very confident. How's that?
All right.
There you go.
David Samson will join us in a few minutes. He is host of Nothing Personal with David Samson. We are going to talk. David's Nothing Personal podcast. I listened to it the other day. And he comes across as having some sympathy for where Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins are right now with this organization. I want to talk to him about that. We'll talk to him about the City Connect uniforms, which I think they're being unveiled on social media tonight at like 7:15 or something like that. And then there's a reception tonight to formally unveil them. But we'll talk to David about just uniforms. Why do people care? And the Tampa Bay Rays have put out their latest stadium renderings, which look really good. We'll talk to David about
anything's better than what they got.
Getting ballparks built in Florida. See, you'd never find a baseball writer say that because it's a great place to work.
Really?
It's a great place to work. I mean,
I've never been there.
It's a great place to work.
No.
It is a great place to work. Anyhow, and they've got great Cuban sandwiches at the stadium, which is, of course, the most important
Absolutely.
thing, as you well know.
Yep.
We also want to talk to him about the incident, if we're going to call it that, last night. Jorge Lopez of the New York Mets firing his glove into the stands after being ejected from the game, then going on. I wouldn't call it a rant.
He was calm.
He was calm. Unfortunately, it was one of those things where, because he wasn't speaking in his first language, he made it sound as if he thought the Mets were the worst team in baseball, which he's a liar, that White Sox are the worst team in baseball. But he made it sound as if he thought the Mets were the worst team in baseball. Rockies are. But he also said something about, basically it sounded to me like what he was trying to say is, they can do what they want with me. I am the worst teammate on the worst team in baseball. Anyhow, he was DFA'd afterwards.
What I heard.
But there is a backstory to it as well.
Yeah.
He's, not to make excuses for the guy, but as Boomer Esiason did a bit on this today on radio, pardon me, in New York. He's had just an awful time with his son's health. Boomer Esiason said, and again, I don't know where he got this from, but apparently his Jorge Lopez's son is waiting for a transplant. Anyhow, Andy Martino of Sportsnet New York will join us. We'll try to get to the bottom of that. And it's a bizarre story because, subsequent, as soon as this came out, a lot of the guys who'd covered Jorge Lopez over the years, a lot of Dan Connolly of the Orioles, and they basically all weighed in social media and said, this doesn't sound like the Jorge Lopez that we know. So anyhow, we'll talk to Andy Martino about that. Jason Grilli's going to join us. We'll take a look at the Pirates.
What a show.
It's going to be a lot of fun at 5 o'clock. It's going to be jam-packed at 5 o'clock. Kevin Pillar is going to join us. Kevin Pillar is on a heater.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Good for him.
Yeah, it's a great story. His numbers, I wouldn't say he's replaced Mike Trout, but if you look at his numbers.
Oh, don't say it.
But it is a great story. Like
Yeah.
Kevin Pillar is. Kevin and I talked about this a little bit, and I'm sure some people will remember this, but those people who think the Blue Jays history began in 2015 might not remember it. But I mean, there was a time where Kevin Pillar was demoted to AAA by John Gibbons because he didn't like the way Kevin Pillar reacted to being pinch hit for in a game. And Kevin Pillar is a guy who was there's a little bit of Davis Schneider there, not a fancy draft pick, worked his way up. Earned everything he got. He was sent down to AAA. Didn't say anything. Gibby, to his credit, didn't bury him.
Nope. Could have.
Oh, God, he could have very easy. Listen, there have been managers in this city that would have buried him. Gibby, to his credit, didn't bury him. Anyhow, of course, you know the story. Kevin Pillar comes back, has a terrific career, a very important part of those teams. And he's a guy now that, look at the I think what we could say is the end of his career. Teams want him.
Yeah.
I mean,
final piece.
Teams are giving him a uniform.
Yeah.
So it's really a cool story.
It is.
And he's one I always enjoyed talking to Kevin. So he'll join us at 5 o'clock. And we've got tickets to give away to see the Jays and Orioles. We've got a very busy show.
Yeah.
So I'm going to shut up. Let us take a break and come back with David Samson. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590, The Fan, and Sportsnet. All right, we've got tickets to give away later in the show to see the Jays and Orioles. Oh, this is a good trivia question.
You see Henderson hit his 18th last night?
Huh? Henderson.
Yeah, Gunnar Henderson hit his
Gunnar Hen- yeah.
18th last
I
night.
also saw that. Yeah.
Man, that's how it's supposed to look, Jeff.
Yeah.
That's how it's supposed to look, buddy. I mean,
Are you
close your eyes and think of that perfect one, boy. That's about how it's supposed to look.
Are you kind of getting the sense that the AL East is going to come down to Baltimore and New York?
I mean, I think I told you that, didn't I, at the beginning of the season?
I think it is too. Let's bring in David Samson. He's host of Nothing Personal with David Samson and former MLB executive. Just tell me a little bit about how, because we've talked about Bo and Vladdy and what you would do and all that, but walk me through what Mark and Ross must be thinking about right now when it comes to, in particular, those two guys, but to the team in general.
Well, they're despondent. So let's start with that. They're incredibly disappointed so far with the season. And what you do now is something a little different than in previous years because you're looking at your window differently. When the window of winning is opening and it's a little delayed or you have a step back, you're able to say, we're fine. We're in the prime of the window. Don't panic. But when the window's closing and you feel like it's your last chance to have this core come together and win, I'll never forget, every time I've rebuilt, it's after a window closed and we didn't have what we wanted out of the team. And to acknowledge that, admit it, and then act on it, it takes a lot. And I believe that's what's going on right now in the offices in Toronto. They are trying to figure out what they're going to do. And they do it by doing markers. Hey, in 10 days, if we're not blank, then we really have to do X or Y. And sometimes you push the can and kick the can down the road.
It's interesting because Dan O'Dowd was on the MLB network and same thing, talking about the Blue Jays. And his point, again, is someone who, like yourself, has had to make these decisions. He said, the one thing, he said, I'm not a fan of half measures. Either you look at the 2 years or 18 months you have left with these guys and say, you know what? Okay, let's just, what do we need to win with these two guys? And then we worry about it. Or you say, hey, it's not working. But his whole point was half measures don't work. He said they've got guys that they could trade, guys who are free agents this year, Danny Jansen, Romano Garcia. Maybe they may not bring you in a guy who you're going to have under control for the next 5 years and is going to perpetually be going to all-star games, but he might be someone who can help you win with Bo and Vladdy, and that's kind of what he was talking about.
Yeah, that's another very important thing that differs from people who watch sports versus people who are in sports. When you're looking at a trade or you're looking at your team, we do a lot of but-for analysis. Mm-hmm. But-for is, hey, this specific trade did not work the way we hoped, but there are players playing now who are getting at-bats or getting innings who would not have had these at-bats or innings pitched but for us making that trade. So we're looking at evaluating those players too. And so that's also part of the equation. If you do make a decision that you're going to move a player, you also have to think about who you are going to give that playing time to. And the evaluation of that player is just as important as the valuation of the players you're trading for.
Did you ever make a positive move just so you didn't have to answer the question?
I would like to say no, but I'd be lying. Of course, there are many times that we would do things because the pressure just mounted. And we see it in baseball all the time when players get signed, extensions are given to players or managers because there's so much noise that eventually the owner just says uncle. And you try to protect the owner from doing that, but it can be deafening, as you both very well know. The media can be deafening.
Do you think the Jays' offense is one piece away?
You know, you're a player. What does that mean? We all say that, don't we? Mm-hmm. Like, hey, if we get this guy, we're going to be great.
Yeah.
Does that ever work that way?
Not really.
No. It's fun to talk about who do we add to Vladdy to really bring out the best in him.
That's why I'm asking you, because I didn't know the answer.
The answer is you're never one piece away. What you are, we always would say it differently. We're one moment away. And we would keep waiting for the moment, whether it's a comeback victory, whether we create a blown save, whether we get a save in a situation where, hey, we should have lost that game, or when we take advantage of an error that the other team makes. we look for a moment and try to build on that. And if it doesn't work, you wait for the next moment. So I would say we would focus more on moments than on pieces.
We are anxiously awaiting in this city for the Jays to unveil their City Connect uniforms tonight, so we can pull people back from the edges of the buildings in this city. Look, I went on a little spiel at the start of the show, David. Yeah. I don't know if you. I think this was before Jeffrey and you took over the team. The Expos had already had the fleur-de-lis put on their jersey, the provincial, right? And I was saying I remember that was a political decision. You lived in Quebec, you can understand why it would be a political decision. But it kind of, because I'm a guy, just uniforms or whatever, put it on. It's got a number, and you can name, fine. That kind of sort of reinforced in my mind, though, that you have to be careful when you go about making changes to uniforms. But the City Connect thing, I still don't know if I like it or not. There's some I like the Padres. There's some of them that I do like, but there are others I just look at them and go, why? And can you? I know there's a business. I know why, because ka-ching, 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 right? Everybody. It's the same reason English Premier League teams change sponsors every 2 years, because they know that people are going to go and buy the Manchester United shirt that has Chevrolet on it, because they don't want to wear the old one that had something else on it. But this whole notion, how did it start? And just as someone who owned a team, what would you not do to a uniform, I guess, is the way I would put it.
Good question.
So we had an owner who was very Yankee-centric.
Yes.
and the Yankees are known to never change their uniforms. They try to keep them as clean as possible. That's where our facial hair policy came from. And that all worked well until I would point out what the money ramifications are when you have a change in the uniform, or when you add a patch or get a sponsor. It's really all about trying to drive revenue. These City Connect jerseys, we all remember a time when there was a road jersey and a home jersey. Mm-hmm. It was only 20 years ago where there'd be one alternate jersey.
Yeah.
Now, you never know who's playing what, where, when, because in basketball, you wear your road uniforms at home. Teams wear white on the road. It drives me insane. You don't know where the damn game is. And the reason why this happened is the fans kept buying the jerseys. That's the craziest thing. And we never dreamt that there'd be such an appetite around baseball for there to be so many different caps and jerseys. That's why there's now a Mother's Day cap, a Father's Day cap, a July 4th cap, a Memorial Day cap. You have so many hats because you get to put them on display at the team store, at the flagship store of New Era, and people buy them. I hate to say it, but it's really that simple.
As a baseball fan, how do you feel about that? Because you grew up in New York. I've got to think you're probably a Yankees fan as a child, I believe, were you? Or were you a Mets fan?
I was Knicks. No, Knicks #1, Giants 2, Yankees 3. But remember my childhood, the Yankees, people don't remember this. The Yankees were terrible.
Yeah.
From 78 to 96, and that was really the prime of my life.
But I guess what I'm getting at is, as a fan, did you feel an allegiance to the jersey, or?
No, I had an allegiance to the names on the back of the jersey. And the irony, of course, is that when I was the president of a team, I would tell the fans and the media, have an allegiance to the front. Don't worry about the back. We're changing out players, but all you should worry about is Miami. Yep. But of course, as a fan, you want players to relate to. And my great example is the players in basketball where you hate them as your opponent and then they are on your team and you love them. My childhood is a former Raptor, Charles Oakley. Mm-hmm. When he was a Bull, he was despised. Then he becomes a Knick and you love him.
Right.
Dennis Rodman is an interesting example, again, with Detroit and Chicago. Baseball players are the same. Do you remember when Wade Boggs went to the Yankees?
Yeah. Yes.
That was insane.
Yeah.
You can't like Wade Boggs. And then all of a sudden he's on a horse having won a World Series and everyone loves him.
Yeah.
See, I like change. I like different jerseys. I look forward to that. Like it was
That's because you wore a lot of jerseys in your
absolutely.
career.
It's like something you look forward to. It's like, David, it's like the home run jacket. It sort of gives you something to strive towards. Like you're a big leaguer and you get to wear all these different uniforms with your buddies. Like I mean, sometimes I think you can't overthink it, right? And I know why they're doing it, but as a player, I kind of liked it.
But don't you run out of room on your wall when you framed all the jerseys you have that you ever wore? Where do you put them all?
I sort of lean them up against the wall. It's not so much about hanging them, right? You got to lean them.
The major league, the major league ones are hung.
Yeah, that's right.
The minor league ones are
too many. There's too many minor leagues.
They're kind of
We
down
used
there.
to allow our starting pitcher to choose the jersey.
Yeah, that's what the Jays do.
And then we realized that, like Ricky Nolasco would only like the black jerseys, and then if you win a game, you got to wear the black jerseys the next day. So what we then did is made a set schedule that every Monday to Thursday it's this jersey. Friday night home games are that one. Saturday nights that one, and Sunday afternoons another one.
David, what's wrong with the Mets?
My word of the day this morning was dumpster fire, and it's being copied around the media today. And the manager just went on and said, we have standards here. And I don't know if they workshop that with the PR department, because I guess the standards are mediocrity or spending a ton of money for no good particular reason. The Mets have a problem, which is great news for the rest of baseball, because the other owners were very nervous about Steve Cohen coming in because he said he wanted to be the Dodgers, and owners were very upset about that. They don't want very many good organizations who have money to spend. But the good news is after 4 years, they realize he's just a guy who will spend money and waste it.
How are Mets fans handling that? Because, when he came in, it was, he's coming in at a time where the Yankees are kind of, I wouldn't say treading water, but, there's some concern about Hal's commitment compared to his dad, et cetera, et cetera. And then here comes this guy who's going to spend to make the Mets winners. And I'm just wondering how that fan base reacts to that, especially now that it appears as if the Yankees, are going to have a terrific year, and Aaron Judge looks like Babe Ruth again. And they may have Juan Soto at some point. Mets fans have got to be just looking at this and pulling their hair out.
So I've noticed that Mets fans are becoming like Jets fans, and they're becoming a little like Cubs fans pre-2016, where they celebrate together with their misery, almost like they expect it and they rally around it. I would be worried if I'm Steve Cohen, what happens if the Mets actually win? Because then what are people going to do? But it's pretty scary around here in New York in that people aren't going to games. And it used to be at Citi Field that they would go even when the Mets were not particularly performing well. And it's just not happening anymore. And my guess is that worries Steve Cohen much more than Lopez being designated for assignment.
Did you ever have a player throw anything in the stands, and did you care if he did?
Oh, I clearly would have cared if they threw a piece of equipment or did something that could hurt somebody, because then it's a lawsuit. In terms of if you want to throw a glove, I would have been embarrassed. And the only way I would have designated the player is if we wanted to designate him and he weren't good. But if, let's just say the Mets, let's say Severino got grumpy and then threw his glove in the stands, they would not have designated Severino. By any stretch. It just happened to be, it was a $2 million reliever. So it makes it easy to do that. And so we always say there's no double standard. We treat everyone the same, but we were lying to you. We totally treat players differently according to whether or not they're good.
David, I'm wondering, we saw the Rays stadium renderings today.
Yeah.
And of course, obviously you have experience getting a ballpark built in Miami. Something I've vaguely followed that. I've been following the Tampa Bay situation a little more just because, it's near Dunedin and the Blue Jays train there. But is there a different set of politics at work on that coast of Florida compared to Miami?
Well, my experience is in Miami, and Miami's closer to Chicago than Milwaukee is in terms of politics and the insanity of it. I don't know how insane Tampa is, St. Pete. I just know that anytime there's a renderings release, it makes me smile, because the final ballpark is usually never like the rendering, number one. Number two, you do a rendering release when you don't yet have a deal to release, because you want to put pressure on in a negotiation. You want to get the fan base lathered up or the politicians lathered up. And so this is a purposeful release of the renderings today, because they did a press conference announcing a deal, which was great, except they didn't have a deal. And now they're concerned about that. So you put out some renderings and hope you can finish the deal.
Would that sort of force the Rays organization to spend more money on a player? We see it in Kansas City, right? You're trying to get a new stadium, you dump a bunch of money into one of the best players in baseball. You think the Rays, now obviously the Rays don't have a ton of money, but would this sort of force them to have to go out and maybe get a big name player to come in because you got a new stadium?
You know, we always would talk about the Bob Nutting situation in owners' meetings. If you recall, the Pirates, when they opened PNC, they signed a guy named Jason Kendall. I don't know if your listeners, they may remember him. I want to say he got $55 million or some amazing contract for a catcher, and it did not work. And so it turns out that making these big signings, which I did in 2012, we signed everyone and then traded them to you because we wanted to have momentum into a new stadium. It turns out really what fans want is they want to be comfortable. They want to have acclimation, good temperature, and they really would like wins. And in Tampa, they've had so much winning without attendance that if I'm Tampa, I'm frantic because we've already won. So we're supposed to keep winning and then hope that all of a sudden fans will come because it's so much better in St. Petersburg at this ballpark versus the Trop. So it's not even like a relocation. So I think baseball's nervous and Tampa's nervous. They just want to get the issue done with so they can move on to expansion.
Wow.
David, really good of you to join
That's
us today.
stuff.
Thanks so much, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great
You're the
day.
best.
You too.
Thanks,
Take care,
buddy.
man. David Samson, host of Nothing Personal with David Samson, a former MLB executive with the Marlins.
I think it's interesting to hear him answer about the one piece away thing and how organizations think about that in front offices. And, you know, you're adding a piece hoping that piece just is basically going to carry your team for a long period of time. It's not the easiest thing to do.
Well, and I've always thought it's one piece away. An NBA team can be one piece away because you've got 5 dudes in the court at the same time.
Have a cleanup hitter who hit 30 homers and drive in 100 for the Jays. That wouldn't be one piece away.
But other than that, you know,
not saying they can get it.
Bring another pitcher. You know, the pitcher pitches once every 5 days. The thing with it, I think there are teams that are one. It depends what you're one piece away from being. Are the Jays one piece away from being able to be a World Series contender? No. Are they one piece away from a team from having a better offensive team that would be a better lock at a playoff spot? Yes. But I don't think.
Now, I think if a front office, just like you did to start the show, looks at the standings and sees because of where the wild card's at and how many games you're behind, if I add one piece, a guy that can thump,
but then what
carry, hit the 3-run homer a bunch a week,
but then
help you win games that way. That's, I think, the point is, would it work? Like if you brought a healthy Pete Alonso in here who could drop 30 in the second half of the season.
He may not be healthy.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
But if healthy, he could drop 30. That wouldn't help. That wouldn't take you to the, just the limit of, okay, now we can make the playoffs. Now that we've spent all this money and the owner's ponying up and doing his part in the new stadium and eyeballs to the set, that's the point, right?
I don't know. Because do you have faith enough in this bullpen?
That's a great. Well, would it hide it? The more runs you score, like you wouldn't have to use too many down there.
And what is the net gain? Who is he replacing in your lineup?
I mean, if you got a guy who can hit 30, does it matter?
No, but what
it
I'm
wouldn't
saying
be one of your big guys. But
what I'm saying is, if he's replacing a guy who, who isn't very good, yeah. But if he's replacing a guy, who's he going to replace? If he's going to replace George Springer, I mean, I know he's not because George Springer's an outfielder. But what I'm saying is, there is an element of subtraction involved in that. And if you add Pete Alonso to the lineup, I mean, he's only going to play first base. Are you going to DH Vladdy full time?
I mean, you could do it. You could do both. I'm just throwing that name out there because of what David said and how a front office thinks about one piece.
See, I think
they don't think it that way. That's why you saw Alex when he made all those moves. It was a plethora of pieces because he knew that's what had to happen, right?
He also
momentum,
knew
and you needed more pieces to get it.
And it wasn't just momentum. He also realized that he was putting together a lineup that would be difficult to pitch to because it had so many strengths and different weaknesses. There was literally a group of 8 different hitters. And, we talked to, I think it was Eno Saris was on, and he did a terrific article, I remember at the time, in The Athletic on that Braves lineup and talking to people around baseball who had faced that Braves lineup and said, we spent so much time in our meetings going over their hitters because every guy was different. Some guys had to get him out inside, middle, other guys yet. And I think there are a couple of ways of going about this. But the thing is, where I think that one big ad might help here is I really do think fans need something to get excited about. Fans need this front office to do something to kind of reignite excitement that I think is frankly diminishing. And I've made this point. That's what really scares me about this. You do not want to become like the Leafs were a couple of years ago, where people don't care. You do not want to do that. You don't want to be that team where people are either so frustrated that they don't like your team or they just don't care. And boy, that's when you're a baseball team and you're playing every day. We've talked about this. You know what? The worst team to cover is a bad baseball team, because it gets sour fast, and it's sour 24/7. It's not like hockey where you got 3 days off maybe, or the NFL where you got a week off. It's every day. The same crap gets sent out in the field. The same crap keeps happening. And, sometimes I think David's right. Let's add one guy and it'll put us over the top. I think maybe at the end of the year, around the trade deadline, maybe you get to that point. But I don't know if one guy puts this. I don't think one guy puts this team over the top, whatever the top is. Yeah. I think they need a couple of moves, and frankly, they may need a subtraction here. And what I mean by that is, maybe as good as George Springer is defensively, I don't know. And we've seen some life from him offensively right now, but maybe this team could be better with somebody else than George Springer on it. And again, I don't know how that happens, but I used to think this team was like one guy away, but now I just don't know. I think you maybe need a couple of pieces here and there, but a middle of the order thumper, I would certainly
that would help, wouldn't it?
That would be a start.
Optics, showing you care. That's a funny way to say showing you care, right? Is, and that's why I asked David about that. Have you ever done anything just to do it so you don't have to answer the question? And it's the Gibby phrase. Like Gibby used to do that a lot. Used to tell me that. I don't know. Like I don't know what the best thing is to sort of get it going in the right direction.
Keep it short, will you?
There you go.
I mean, you are you are an entertainment product.
There it is too. I mean, people want to tune in and watch excitement. Run prevention ain't it.
Kevin Pillar, speaking of run prevention, and run creation this year, and Kevin Pillar, a very good defensive outfielder, but also having a terrific year offensively for the Los Angeles Angels. Kevin Pillar will join us next. We've got tickets to give away to see the Orioles and Jays. Andy Martino of Sportsnet New York will be along to talk about the Mets. Jason Grilli, who got very popular very quickly in Toronto. Jason Grilli, host of the Mound Visit podcast, will be along. We'll talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates. Off day for the Jays tonight. City Connect tonight. Pirates in town for 3 tomorrow. We'll talk about it's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590, The Fan and Sportsnet. All right, welcome back to Blair and Barker. The Jays have tonight off. They will be unveiling their City Connect jerseys tonight. Reminder that tomorrow, of course, the jersey will debut on the field. Monday is the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. bobblehead giveaway, wearing the City Connect jersey. And
nice.
Then, June 5th, Wednesday, is Blue Jays backpack giveaway with the City Connect design. And the Jays will be wearing their jerseys on the field for those 3 games. Well, I would dare say that our next guest is probably one of the most popular players to wear a Blue Jays jersey of any description. And he's having quite a year with the Los Angeles Angels. He is Kevin Pillar, and we're very pleased that Kevin joins us in Blair and Barker. Kevin, thanks so much for doing this today. As always, it's great to hear from you. We trust that you're going well. I'm just reading the Angels game notes. You're hitting .431 with 8 extra base hits, 20 RBI through the first 17 games. It's the second most in Angels history behind Joe Rudy. It's obviously it's such a great start for you with the Angels. Just tell us how it came about and what the key has been.
Oh, I mean, I wish I knew all those things. I wish I knew what the key was, but yeah, I mean, I got I signed with Chicago and the White Sox in spring training, got released, re-signed back, and then got released, about a month into the season. and went back home to Arizona with my wife and my kids, and was just kind of sitting at home, trying to figure out what I really wanted to do. Part of me was like, okay, maybe it's a sign. Maybe it's time for me to hang them up. I got released by, not one of the best teams in baseball. So your mind kind of starts to think like, okay, if I can't play for them, like where do I really fit? And then I just got some good advice from, some outside help, and he just encouraged me to finish the race. And I didn't know, where the starting line was. I didn't know where the finish line was. And, fortunately I got a phone call the following day from the Angels, asking me if I would be interested in coming in. And I said, absolutely. Hopped on a plane, honestly, got the phone call that I was going to Anaheim. My suitcase was still packed from coming home from Chicago. Got to the airport in 20 minutes. I was on a flight, 15 minutes later, landed in Anaheim, and it's just kind of been a surreal journey. I think part of the success is just not really knowing when it's going to be over for me, just really trying to go out and enjoy every single day and not really be so concerned about, tomorrow or the following day or who's pitching a week from now. Just really embracing the opportunity to be back in the big leagues and being back, close to home where I grew up in Southern California. And as cliche as it sounds, just really trying to enjoy every single day and not worried about tomorrow. I'm not worried about, playing for anything next year. I've kind of been pretty open about being pretty sure this is going to be my last year playing and just wanting to be able to go out on my own terms and hopefully it leads to a lot of success on the field and, be able to walk away from this game with my head held high.
Kevin, what's the hardest thing about going to all these different organizations and trying to fit in?
You know what? It was hard maybe the first couple of times. I've done it so many times now where, you in this game, as you know, especially with the amount of teams that I've been on now, I'm not walking into a clubhouse to a bunch of strangers anymore. I mean, even here in Anaheim, I got Ron Washington and EY who, I had in Atlanta last year. Our infield coach, Gogo, one of my best friends who I'm actually living with right now, which is like an unbelievable, surreal kind of thing to, be reunited with one of my best friends, one of my former teammates who's now a coach with the Angels, and we actually get to live together while my family's still back in Arizona. And then there's a handful of players that I've played with in other organizations. So, but like, as you know, you play this game long enough, you've either played with people or people kind of know about you. You kind of develop a reputation in this game of, what kind of player you are, what kind of person you are. And it's just been a lot easier now that I've been on 9 different teams to just walk in a clubhouse and be my authentic self. And it's been an easy transition, especially coming here with knowing so many of the players and the staff and the hitting coaches I have history with. So just being able to come in and just, strip it down and be raw and emotional and talk about, how I was feeling when I left Chicago and how I'm feeling now and the things that I wanted to accomplish in this game and, not be too proud to ask for help. And it's been a great, I don't know how long I've been here, almost a month. It's been an enjoyable month.
Kevin, you've got over 1,000 hits now. You broke the 500-run plateau. Did you think when you were with the Blue Jays and you were kind of starting your career out, I'm thinking like 2013, 2014, maybe 2015, obviously you played 159 games, but back then, did you ever imagine that you would be putting up that many hits and scoring that many runs? Because those are significant numbers for a guy's career.
I knew going into last year in Atlanta, there was, some individual accomplishments, some milestones that I wanted to achieve. It was the 100 stolen bases, the 100 home runs, the 1,000 hits. And to me, I thought that was going to be really just cool for myself. Like, I didn't think that there was a significance in those numbers in this game because you think about the great players that have played. We got guys with 700 homers and 3,000 hits and 4,000 hits. And, I don't even know how many stolen bases. I'm sure there's, over 1,000 stolen bases. So, in my head from where I started, I was like, damn, those would be, that would be a cool accomplishment. And as I was able to, reached 100 homers, the 100 stolen bases, the 1,000 hits, and the 500 runs. And, really kind of like look through, social media when I was able to do that and kind of see the rarity of, how many players in this game that have been able to achieve that. It blew me away. It blew me away to know that I was in such a, small elite club of players, and then my name alongside of the people that have been able to accomplish that. It's, you got MVPs and multiple time All-Stars, and then you got Kevin Pillar. So, to me, it's just perseverance and, really never giving up in this game and just, kind of chipping away every single day. But to answer your question, 2013, 2014, no, I would have never thought I would been able to kind of, reach these milestones in my career. 2015, when I played 159 games and I kind of established myself as an everyday player, an everyday center fielder, I thought sky was the limit for myself. Not to say that I don't think I ever in my brain thought I would be a Hall of Famer, but, I thought I hit 278 as a, first-time full-time player. I probably had 160 some odd hits.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that, that was kind of just going to be the norm. And then baseball happens. Baseball is it's a crazy business. It's a crazy sport. It's full of adventures and mysteries and disappointment and excitement all wrapped in one. So for me to get those things, going into my 10th year this year on 9 different teams, it was really cool for me, and, baseball is also just has a way of being very poetic. I just happened to be in Texas, playing the Rangers where my parents now live. Got a hit in the first game, put me at 999. Walked, didn't get a hit the rest of the game. Had the day off the following day. Was anticipating playing on Sunday. Got the lineup the night before, wasn't in it. Called my parents in the morning and said, hey, I'm not in the lineup. You guys make the choice if you guys want to come. They said, hey, we're going to be there. We're going to be there. And then to be able to get a pinch hit in the 8th inning, bases loaded, drive in the winning run, to get my thousands hit with my parents in the stands. Just in this game, you never really know where you can't write a script like that, considering I started in a different organization to start the year, to be able to go out and, get the amount of hits I've had since I've been with the Angels, to kind of put myself in a position where, all those things sort of lined up. That's also the beauty of baseball. As painful as it can be sometimes, as brutal as it can be sometimes it just gives you a little magical moment that, makes all the bad things, the sadness in this game, all worth it.
You mentioned mystery. What's the biggest baseball mystery you've been able to figure out over your career?
Ooh.
That yesterday's success really doesn't mean anything the next day, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is I've been pretty successful since I've been here. I tried to like allow yesterday's success to just allow me to feel confident and breed confidence. But every day is such a mystery in this game. Who you're facing, how you're going to feel, if your swing's going to be there, if your pitch recognition is going to be there. I think I just learned, years back that, there's two types of people in this game: the ones that are humble and the ones that are about to be humbled. Even through successes that I've had in this game, I've always just tried to remain really humble, because I've never found this game to be easy. Maybe there's some guys in this game that, are the top of the top players in our industry that kind of just roll out of bed and baseball is easy for them. For me, it's always been a challenge. It's always difficult. And, when I'm having success, I just try to stay grounded and humble and just keep my head down and continue to work and enjoy the successes, but never get too high in this game, because it has a way of, bringing you back down to earth and humbling you.
Kevin, I know you're in tremendous shape, but how tough is it being a 35-year-old big leaguer?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely takes a little bit more work. I mean, it's not just it's not just the age, it's the miles. I've played, quite a few games in my career. But I think the thing that's really kind of allowed me to just continue to play is, regardless of the opportunities that I get on the field, I go into every off season with the same mindset that maybe someone's going to give me an opportunity to play every day. Maybe that opportunity presents itself through an injury or performance, but I still train in the off season like I'm going to play 150 games a year. And if I don't get those, then I don't get them. But I always want to just be in a position where my body is ready to go out there and perform at a high level every single day. But yeah, I think the days of me kind of just showing up to the field and, putting my uniform on, doing some side to side, a little toe touch and going to play are long gone. The prep that goes into it is a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, I feel good. I mean, it's crazy to it's crazy to me to even think 35 years old is old. I still feel like a kid, even though that I'm about to be married 10 years this year. I got 2 kids, a 6 and a 4-year-old, but I still feel like a kid myself playing a kid's game at 35 years old. Do I get to just show up to the field and go out to batting practice and expect my body to feel good and hold up? No, but, I go through, a pretty good prep routine of just making sure my body feels well. Days that I don't play, I definitely embrace the opportunity to let my body recover and heal. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think 35 is old in this old in baseball, but old in life. I still feel young.
The pitchers you faced your first year in the big leagues compared to the pitchers you're facing now, what's the biggest difference?
I mean, obviously velocity and movement, but I mean, even the first, couple years I was up in the big leagues, you're still facing legit arms. I just think, if you got to maybe a 4 or 5 starter, or if they were as a 4 or 5 starter in a rotation, scheduled for you to face in a series, there was going to be a little bit of a letdown. The stuff wasn't going to be as good. They maybe would be what we would consider a little bit more crafty, the ability to pitch, but the stuff wasn't there. And then obviously you had a couple of those guys in the bullpen. You had a long relief guy that, was a failed 4th or 5th starter that was pushed into the bullpen, that was a guy that you ideally wanted to get to in the bullpen. And, maybe a couple other guys in the bullpen that just didn't have the stuff. I mean, every single day you're facing stuff. There's really no letdown anymore. And even if the guy is not like a high velocity guy, he probably has, a unicorn fastball that has unbelievable ride or carry or cut or sink, and then the ability to spin the ball, in the upper echelon of spin. So just every day is there's really no let up, 1 through 5 in a starting rotation, and now you're just really just facing big arms out of the bullpen with stuff, and maybe the ability to pitch isn't the same it was maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, but I mean, stuff plays. The decision making is a little bit quicker. The recognition and trying to pick up the shape of sliders and curveballs are a little bit more difficult now. Guys have the ability to hide those things a little bit more, but with that is sometimes you just gotta dig down deep and be committed to a very small zone, and honestly try to hit mistakes at this level is how you can really the only way you can be successful, because the stuff is so good now.
Kevin, we're going to let you run, man. Thank you very much for your time. It's great to talk to you.
Wonderful.
It's great to see you having success, and keep it going and be well.
Thanks,
Stay healthy.
Guys, good to hear your voices. Nice catching up with you guys.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
Yep. Kevin Pillar of the Los Angeles Angels, 3 for 4 in his last game against the Yankees, 4-3 win. He's on a career-high 11-game hitting streak, hitting .488 during that time. He's recorded a hit in 14 of his 17 games since joining the Angels. 16 RBI through his first 12 games. That's tied for most in franchise history. And yeah, we kind of like, it's kind of like we grew up with Kevin Pillar.
Yeah.
Kevin Pillar's now played 1,148 games, 4,145 plate appearances. He's got 102 stolen bases. He's got a career batting average of 259, 112 home runs, 503 runs, and 1,008 hits.
Yeah, he's earned the right
That's
to go out on his own terms, which is pretty cool. I mean, he said that, right? It's his last year. So good for Kevin, man. He's a lot of fun to root for.
We're going to play some audio from post-game audio from the New York Mets last night. This is Jorge Lopez, who was ejected from the game, threw his glove into the stands, and then, said this after the game.
Do you regret doing that?
No. No, I don't regret it. I think I've been looking the worst teammate probably in the whole MLB. So, whatever happened. So, whatever they want to do, I'll be tomorrow here if they want me. Whatever they want to do.
Just to clarify what you said, just because I didn't fully understand. Did you say I'm on the worst team? Is that what you had said?
Yeah, probably. It looked like.
I mean, that was Jorge Lopez. He was DFA'd following the game. And, let's just I want to bring in Andy Martino of Sportsnet New York. He's also author of the new book, The Yankee Way, the untold inside story of the Brian Cashman era. It was released last week. Andy, thanks so much for joining us. And first of all, congratulations on the book. I'm looking forward to reading it as someone who spent a lot of postseason days following the Yankees back when that was a regular occurrence. Explain this thing, the Jorge Lopez thing, to those of us who didn't see the whole play or everything. And I mentioned that, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but Boomer Esiason mentioned something this morning about there's also some health issues with Jorge Lopez's son. And I mean, he wasn't saying, I don't think he was saying give the guy a pass for that, but I think he might have been saying, hey, this guy may have a little more going on in his life than we know.
Well, thank you guys for having me. Thanks for the comments on the book. And yes, that's true. He does have a son with some serious health issues. It's part of a complicated situation here, just one ingredient in the stew, I guess. I'll take you back just to give you the 5 W's for a minute for your listeners. Lopez was ejected from a game arguing a check swing yesterday. On his way out, untucked his jersey and threw his glove into the crowd. Following the Mets loss, the manager, Carlos Mendoza, said that was unacceptable. We're going to handle that internally. Lopez came out to speak to the media, said what you heard. There's a lot of confusion, lack of clarity over whether he was saying he's the worst teammate, which is what he claims, whether the Mets are the worst team. I think it's hard to fathom that he would say that the Mets are the worst bleeping team. But it was a weird thing. You had someone who was clearly still very upset after the game. Maybe shouldn't have been talking as much as we in the media appreciate accountability. Maybe he wasn't quite ready yet. And shortly after his availability there, the Mets designated him for assignment. Some of what it wasn't for one particular thing. I mean, it was the whole everything. It wasn't the worst team thing that cost him his job so much as the glove toss, which bothered the manager. Mets are trying to have a new culture. It's been messy around there. That's no secret for a lot of years in a lot of ways. And they felt that was unacceptable. But also, Lopez also said that he didn't regret it. And Lopez met with the manager, Carlos Mendoza, and president of baseball ops, David Stearns, before he spoke to the media, and then said that he hadn't met with them. So that didn't sit well with the Mets either. He said he hadn't met with them, he just had. So they're like, what is this? So it was all enough to combine to say, we don't want this guy on our team anymore from their perspective, and that's what happened.
Andy, was there anything happened before that? Because when I saw the glove being thrown, I've seen Pete Incaviglia was being held back in the minor leagues by one of my managers. He's trying to get in the stands after a fan. I mean, I've seen worse things. Nothing's ever happened in the past. Again, I understand what he said, and that would probably sort of the icing on the cake was, you say that about your organization, you're probably gone. Nothing in the past has ever happened with Lopez before that.
Not with the Mets. He was on the IL with the Twins last year with some mental health stuff that he was dealing with. But he's well-liked. Teammates from Baltimore, from other places that he's been, have liked him. He has been dealing with that situation with his son. I haven't seen him use that as a reason or excuse or what have you for what went on last night. And overall, he's been a professional. They have appreciated that he's one of those relievers that's available all the time when they need him, and he's been fairly effective. Nice guy. Honestly, nice guy. So this was definitely a jarring incident overall for everybody involved.
I mean, the $1 million question here, but what the hell's happened to that team? I mean, I look at it's a mess, but I mean, they've got Francisco Lindor. They've got some guys that I think are pretty solid dudes. You know, I know Pete Alonso's hurt now, but just when did it just kind of fall apart?
1962.
Okay.
Really, and
there you go.
No, it's been. Look, you know what happened last year. They went into the season with Scherzer and Verlander, championship aspirations, broke it down, and that didn't work out. This year there were more modest expectations, but they thought they were going to be a 500-ish team, which nowadays means you can be in the playoff race. So that's what they projected. It's a bridge year, but not a rebuilding year. It's a little confusing for everybody who's experiencing it and then covering it to figure out exactly what's happening. But I'll tell you this, for all their issues, and there are many, Edwin Diaz coming back, blowing 4 saves. Adam Ottavino's had to come in, and he's blown some saves. Reed Garrett's had to come in. He's blown some saves, all of which would be Diaz games if Diaz was right. So my point is, if you take away the Edwin Diaz factor, they're actually pretty close to the 500 team that they expected to be. Now there are issues with their defense. There's issues their stars are not producing. Lindor, Alonso, McNeil. There's a lot of stuff going on. But for all of that, it wouldn't be a crisis if they just converted their save opportunities. But really, it's just a team that was supposed to be mediocre and has played much worse than that. And you know, the weirder thing about it, too, is that they've got a rookie manager who's done a nice job they're happy with. He's been a good culture guy, good in-game guy. So it's not leadership. It's just one of those things about the game being weird, which, as we all know, it is sometimes.
What do you think they do with Pete Alonso, Andy?
I think that if they don't start winning, well, I know that if they don't start winning fast, they'll have to entertain offers for him at the deadline. But they don't know that they're going to get the kind of offer that's needle-moving enough to put their fans through moving Pete Alonso. When you think about a right-handed power hitter, half a season rental, that's not usually the profile of a player that gets you a blue-chip prospect back for a rental. So if you're getting some teams kind of, 10th, 15th ranked prospect who you don't really hear, if your fans aren't going to get that excited about, maybe you just ride it out with Alonso and hope that helps you re-sign him if that's what you want to do. So I think that's the way it's going to go, is if somebody, on the other side of that, it's been a rough year for offense all around, so maybe a team does step up and make a great offer, in which case they'd have to listen. But that's what it will come down to, I think. Not their willingness to talk about them, but what do they actually get offered?
Andy, really good of you to join us today. Thanks so much again. Congratulations on the book, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you,
man.
Andy.
All right, no problem. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Andy Martino of Sportsnet New York does a terrific job. You can follow him on Twitter at MartinoNYC. As I mentioned, the title of the book, The Yankee Way, The Untold Inside Story of the Brian Cashman Era, was released last week. And the reviews have been really good. And there is a lot of us think we know a lot about the Yankees because they've been part of the furniture for so many years of our baseball lives. But there's a ton of stuff in there about Brian Cashman and the way the Yankees have gone about their business. So it's a great read if you're a Yankees fan, or if you're a baseball fan, you want something to read while you're down on the beach. It is a terrific read. We've got tickets to give away to see the Jays and the Orioles. We've got Jason Grilli, former MLB pitcher. We'll do that after our break. It's Blair and Barker on Sportsnet 590, The Fan and Sportsnet. All right, welcome back to Blair and Barker. So we're just having this discussion off air about the Jorge Lopez situation. I'm kind of pissed off now.
A little. Seems like a nice guy.
Well,
I just had a bad moment.
And I told Kevin, a lot of guys who covered, and this is, in some ways, this is kind of when social media is good. A lot of guys who covered Jorge Lopez, a lot of the beat writers, guys who would have spent time around him in Minnesota and Baltimore and that, they all said in social media, like, this is, and I know everybody's a great guy. I get that. Everybody in sports is a great guy. Very seldom do people look at a guy and go, boy, that guy's a dick. Very seldom.
But
Yeah, I did. But so many people took to social media and said, this is like not, the guy
Not normal.
that we knew.
Yeah.
I mean, I've played the interview back a couple of times. I mean, I got to tell you, and I think Andy, I'm going to give Andy credit because I think Andy's right. As much as, we love athletes to be stand-up guys, et cetera, there are times where I just as soon a dude not speak. And I cannot believe the Mets would have allowed him to address
Me
the
either.
media.
It's almost like they didn't care.
I just can't. Especially if especially if you're going to know you're DFA him. Especially if you're going to know you're going to DFA him. And I listened to that thing, and the guy's upset, and worst team. I thought what he was trying to say is, you know what? I guess I'm the worst teammate on the worst team in baseball, and basically saying I guess I'm just a bad person and like falling on a sword and all that. I don't know. I felt anyhow. And I guess, the DFA was probably in the works, but I just...
Yeah, it was going when he threw the glove, it sounded like.
The media guy in me would like access to everything. But there are times where and I used to tell this to PR people, there are times when I understand why I can't have access to somebody.
Just makes sense.
And I can probably, I can write my story.
There you go.
Anyhow.
I'm with you.
Stuff like that is unnecessary drama. Drives me nuts when there's so much about that team that stinks as it is.
Wow, you nailed that.
Unnecessary drama drives me nuts. Anyhow, we're going to give you a chance to win Blue Jays tickets to see the Jays and the Orioles. We've been doing it all season long on Blair and Barker. Oh, boy. Mark Boffo hit it out of the park with this one. Almost made up for yesterday. All you have to do is text the correct... I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
Well, you
all you
wrote
have
his
to
name
do
in
is
cursive on the screen.
All you have to do is text the correct answer to our daily baseball trivia question to 595.90.
Get it right.
Our last trivia
Even though the
question...
question's not right all the time.
Shut up. Our last trivia question and answer was, this pitcher turned position player is the only Canadian to play for both the Orioles and the Blue Jays. The answer is Adam Lowen. Today's question is to win tickets to see the Jays and Orioles at the Rogers Center on June 4th. And I know Boffo, who's a big Rage Against the Machine fan, I know he would drop this in. This former Blue Jays second baseman, whose walk-up song was Bulls on Parade by Rage Against the Machine, had a short stint with the Orioles during the 2014 season. This is really hard. This former Blue Jays second baseman, whose walk-up song was Bulls on Parade by Rage Against the Machine, had a short stint with the Orioles during the 2014 season. Text the answer to 595.90 for your shot to win. See rules
you got that?
at Sportsnet. No, sportsnet.ca/590. Not a chance I'm getting that. Not a chance I'm getting that.
Show it to me.
Sean Markham also.
Do I know him?
You might have played. Oh, you probably played with him. I mean, you played with everybody. You play with him?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you did.
But still, there's no way. That's his walk-up song?
Yeah, it's a great song. Sean Markham used to warm up to it, too.
That's understandable. But
That's understandable with
that
Sean.
guy?
Yeah.
I would have never got that.
Yeah, you're not surprised that Sean
Never heard
Markham
him.
would warm up to a Rage Against the Machine.
Oh.
Neither am I. No.
Oh.
No, there were a couple of warm-up songs. A.J. Burnett's "The Beautiful People" by Marilyn Manson.
That's it. And come out throwing 93 and me laughing at it. I can't believe it. I was like, dude, that's what I said. I said, dude, if you're going to come out to that song, you better be blowing 99, 93. Yeah. It's like, what's the matter with you? Change your song.
And I think Brian Tallett's warm-up song was "Gimme Shelter," which I really like too. But anyhow, there you go. All these stupid things you remember. Yeah. Gossman's "Money" is a great warm-up song. The Pittsburgh Pirates will be in town to take on the Blue Jays tomorrow.
I wasn't good enough to have a walk-up song.
In a three-game series against the Blue Jays. A reminder, it is City Connect weekend. Friday, the City Connect jerseys will debut in the field. We're about an hour and a half, I guess, maybe a little more away from seeing them revealed on social media. Jason Grilli is a former MLB pitcher with the Blue Jays, Pirates, and the Braves. He's host of the Mound Visit podcast. Jason Grilli joins us on Blair and Barker.
Ask you if you had a walk-up song. Jason, did you ever have a walkout? Like whenever
Of course
you were.
you did.
Well, what was it? Like, and when did you get it? Like, was it first year, second year, third year? When was it?
No, man, you have to be a closer. It was a long road before I got to pick my song, man.
I never got one. I was too afraid.
Yeah.
I wanted to sneak up on them.
Pearl Jam Whipping. That was my song.
Nice.
There you go. I do actually.
That's fitting.
I do
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now the stuff they do is, it's
Light
pyrotechnics, light shows.
You better be good, boy. Look at me. Here I come. It's 94 middle.
Yeah, we were asking. We were asking the question here when Jordan Romano got his light show and walk-up song. What happens though if you end up coming in the 8th inning? Like, do you do the whole shebang in the 8th inning?
Nope.
Anyhow,
No, you can't.
You can't. No.
You can. No, I think that is the curtain show. That's where the pyrotechnics go off, and but no one had a better one than Mariano Rivera, right?
Oh, that was the best.
There was no better. There was no better entrance by just the way he ran, being a Yankee, and Metallica. Come on.
Oh, it was perfect. When the first couple of chords sounded,
one pitch,
and everybody,
no chance.
and then the bullpen door would open.
Yeah, he comes.
Yeah.
Is he sick? Is he there? That's not him, is it?
No.
I remember Vernon.
Greatest of all time. The greatest of all time.
Absolutely.
Right
I remember Vernon Wells saying that whenever he saw Mariano Rivera come into the game, he immediately went to the bat rack to get 3 bats ready because he was going to be breaking. He was going to be
Or
breaking
just take
them
somebody
on the cutter.
else's bat that you didn't like.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say he went to the bathroom 3 times.
No, he did. No, not Vernon, but he did. He knew he was going to have some bats broken.
Oh, wow.
Some bats broken. Oh my God.
Hey, Jason, we're going to see the Pirates in a couple of days. I'm sure the Jays are happy they're missing Skenes and Jones. I'm kind of upset because I was kind of looking forward to that.
Yeah, because kilometers per hour is a lot more than 100 miles per hour. So
that's very good.
You guys would really see some guns lit up there.
That would be great.
I always break the speed limit when I'm driving to Toronto. I always forget to change the kilometers per hour. But
that would be great, and it'd be great if you didn't if you didn't tell them that it were kilometers, so they could look back and go 100. Wow, I'm throwing 150. It's seriously though, like the Pirates. There's some good stuff going on there, Jason. Do you think this is the year, maybe this year or next year, that ownership commits a little more to that team? Because, they're a lot of fun, too.
I'll tell you what, man. We got off to the best record in baseball. I said we. Like, I'm still playing. We won, they lost, right? That's what now I'm a fan. But that's what we say. But, no, this club has a lot of talent. And it's always been here. I mean, when you get first-round pick after first-round pick, we had Garrett Cole here. And likes of arms like that have come through this organization. It's just, the stigma is that this is a 4A club sometimes because we're developing. We keep changing jerseys that are in the gift shop because we're rent a player. It's like get a guy here, get him in the development break him in as a big leaguer, and then we're going to give him to the LA Dodgers or big market teams like that. And Yankees come in, even the Blue Jays. Gosh, there's a boatload of talent that you see through here, and you just wish that they could keep the band together. But, I always tell people, I go, when ownership wants to change 1979, they have a really good way to do it if they keep the band together. So I don't know what that's going to take, but start at the top for sure. Because I know for a fact, even me who loves Toronto, you guys know I'm a big Blue Jay fan. Loved being a Blue Jay. It was my childhood team growing up. Loved being a Jay. But, I just don't understand why they don't keep it together, man. I don't get it. So.
Yeah, it's such a great it's such a great baseball city too.
Absolutely, it's beautiful.
Pittsburgh's
baseball's
good,
better when they're
great.
good. Yeah, too. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, like I said, I had a chance as a free agent to play for a couple of big market teams. The players want to come here and play here and stay here. And when I was a free agent, I had a chance to play the Dodgers, Chicago Cubs, and the Blue Jays were talking in talks as a free agent, and I signed back here.
Yeah.
Just because I was like, man, if something's going on here, we did some things, and big things is just even winning a wild card game here because winning hasn't happened sometimes. So to be a part of something like that was was very special and monumental. The fans don't forget. This is a very sports-oriented town. I mean, we're the only city that has all the colors are the same for every sports team, major league team we got. And, people love Pittsburgh the way they play. If you play hard here, man, they back it pretty good.
First impressions of Skenes, and what's the next step for him, you think?
I mean, he's the real deal. Don't change a thing. Just, his thing is he's been pretty consistent. I mean, even in the minor leagues, his track record proves exactly why he was the big gun, and it's fun to watch. And this kid is just starting, so I think the upside is still for something to be seen, and this guy's going to be challenging, 15, 16 to 20 strikeouts a game. He's capable. Mixing a couple no-hitters, I think that's not out of reach for that kid. With the stuff he's got, all 3+ pitches, and he's mentally, too, a workhorse, and doesn't seem like much phases him. So it's exciting to watch. I'm glad he's on this side of it. We've got to see him pitch a few times here. I did myself, and what else can you say about the kid? He's doing some good stuff right out of the gate.
Is it gloves off, or do they have a plan for him? Like, is it, just go pitch every 5 days, or are they going to, maneuver that around? You know how they are, organizations. Sometimes they can't get out of their own way instead of just going, this kid knows what he's doing. Here's the ball every 5 days. Do you think they're going to let him do that?
Listen, man, I don't know if the kid can handle it. If you're in the big leagues, you have to kind of stop with the white gloves. I mean, if you're not ready, then that's why you're in AAA, right?
Yep.
If you're in the big leagues, let me pitch. Know the kid, know the character, know his workload. Obviously, understand you don't want to redline the Porsche even when you first get it. You want to open it up and let it rip. But like I said, with a power arm like that, the only thing I could think of was like a DeGrom. Look how hard and long, steady DeGrom was, and he threw hard. So, and things break when you overuse them. And throwing a baseball, why is it hard? Because it's an unnatural motion, and it does happen. But I'm just hoping that, like I said, he does what he has to do to keep himself healthy. The club will be behind that as well. He seems like an extremely hard worker. And the city, he's got the key to this city here for now. I know that.
Yep.
Jason, last night we had a situation in the Jays game where Alek Manoah came out after an inning and 2/3 with elbow discomfort. Could be too. Elbow. I've got elbow discomfort. Elbow discomfort.
Almost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's just move on. With elbow discomfort. And, of course, the bullpen was immediately, forced into emergency, and Trevor Richards came out and threw 3 1/3 innings. And I'm wondering, as a guy who was a longtime major league reliever, what's it like in a bullpen when, you guys are watching the game and, starting pitcher, something's wrong? Like, how does a bullpen react to that?
Well, I think the middle reliever is the first one that's saying, "Oh, geez," but because sometimes you don't get that time to stretch and mentally prepare. But you just hope that we'll get you guys through one here, and you hope that the next starter can give you kind of a pick me up the next day because, like I said, the bullpen has become such an integral part, especially when starters are going 4 1/3. Nowadays, it's not like you're expected to throw 6+ innings every time out. It's you just give us what you got, and we'll make and rip and replace. It's a different brand of baseball. You don't see a lot of complete games, and you don't see a lot of. I look at some of the stats of yesteryear, right? You try to draw comparisons, and it's almost like when you're a current player, you hate to hear this stuff because you're like, man, I'm busting my butt. I would go do that, but they're not brought up that way. You know what I mean? The brand of baseball, I played through 3 different eras. It's changed, some of the rules and the things that go on. So it's not like an old man. And you wish that the game would come back to when it was. I think it was when it was at its best. Mm-hmm. The brand that I got to borrow. I loved it. I was grateful for the play at that time. I don't know how I would react to to the shot clock and all these other things, and you know, having to undress before I go back in the dugout. I don't know what I would react to, or mentally just kind of have to refocus on with all these other things and variables. But yeah, it's an interesting debate, right? It's an interesting debate, and that's why you have all these talk shows and you sit there and you ask what it would be like. But yeah, going to a bullpen and tapping into that bullpen too much, you pay for it later on. So that's why you kind of have to have the whole staff as a whole jive when it's like, hey man, you got me, I got you. We'll pick each other up. It's going to happen some nights. I mean, I can sit there and say a guy like a veteran like AJ Burnett, I saw him give up 10 or 12 against the Cardinals, stayed in the game just so that the bullpen would be fresh. I mean, he wore it.
Yeah.
You know? And so sometimes you sit there and you're like, wow, I liked him as a teammate, but I had some dumbfounded respect after that game in particular, because I was like, you know what? This guy is not here for himself, and it's about us as a whole. And that just showed me that I knew that's why we had a winning team, you know, because it was about us, not about just individuals. So that's a big, I guess maybe answers your question, right?
Yep. Yeah. Bullpen arm, how hard is it to get their velocity back? When they lose it, it's not where you want it to be. How hard is it for them to get it back?
For a bullpen to get velocity?
Yeah,
well, like I said, just
in season, how hard is it to find it? Yeah, to find it back again.
I think again, it's just having the steady culmination. I think that's also on the individual to take care of yourself. You know, what are you doing as a regimen and a routine? And I think once you find it, and you know, I lived on adrenaline, and that's what got me through.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I don't know what does. You know, when the crowd's behind you, game's on the line. You know, that to me, if you can't get that to help your velocity, then I don't know. That to me, it was a noise and a feeling that I still to this day, I haven't found anything that comes anywhere close to that feeling. So my velocity came from adrenaline. And even when I didn't have it, I figured out how to use what was on the menu that day. You have to trick them. Believe if you're throwing, you know, 4 to 5 miles, you know, slower, then you got to figure out a way to adapt and make pitches when you got to make pitches to get those outs.
Yep.
Jason, really good of you to join us. Thanks so much, man. Great to talk to you again. Be well.
Thanks, buddy.
Hey, all right. Tell Elmo I said thanks too, brother.
I will. See you. Take care, man. See you, Jason.
See you, buddy.
See you, man. Jason Grilli, former MLB pitcher, host of the Mound Visit podcast.
Yeah.
He did grow up a Jays fan. He's he spent a lot of time at Syracuse, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
He was funny. I think Hazel might know the story as well, because I think she was part of it. He was actually in the clubhouse when he was released or sent down. And this was the time when the Jays had first really started talking a great deal about their high performance department.
Yep.
And Jason was, you know, getting ready to leave and saying bye in the media. They were saying goodbye to him. He said, well, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go out, have a big cheeseburger and a ton of beer. Because the high performance department back then, they were watching what they ate, right? Yeah, they didn't want that. I remember Jason Grilli doing that. It was fun when he was here, man. And he could throw hard.
Yeah. I find that interesting. How when you lose it, how do you find it? Like there's some Jays guys, it's moody, right? That velocity's all over the place. How do you get it? How do you maintain it? It can't be the easiest thing.
But and hearing him mention that is something I hadn't thought of. I obviously there's got to be an element of adrenaline if you're a closer, because you're coming in. There's high drama. There's high stakes. It's really a mano-a-mano situation for a closer.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, it seems to me that it would be especially because baseball's a day-to-day thing. After a while, I would think you'd just run out of adrenaline.
I don't know. I mean, you're playing for 3 outs. Like,
I guess
you can't get it up for 3 outs. Like what?
Yeah.
Like
no,
what,
it's not
you know?
like you're.
I mean,
That's
you
fair.
got
It's
light
not-
shows, Jeff. Like you can't run in and get fired up about light shows. I mean, I think Romano pours a whole gallon of water on himself. Like it's like a car wash. And then it's like, yeah. I mean, if you can't get fired up doing that, Jeff, boy. I mean, you're a big leaguer making tons of money.
I thought you did have a walk-up song.
Not
Wasn't
a
it
chance.
in college? Wasn't it?
Not a chance.
Wasn't it Dumas Walker? Or
Yeah,
something
that was in high school.
Oh, in high school.
Yeah, I was a Tawny in high school.
Yeah, you were.
I was bombs and
I think I already
14 punchies.
I think I already called you. You were the redneck Otani, I think, weren't you? Yeah.
That's rude, but yes, I was.
Yeah, I know. It's
Yes,
rude, but
I was.
I can say.
I was really good.
I can say that.
Yeah,
I
now
can
look
say
at
that.
me.
I think Jason was on.
Boy, I just went real country right there.
Boy, did you ever.
Mm-hmm.
Other side of the mountain.
Oh, yeah, that's Gibby. Right? Yeah, that's where you're from.
How come, Gibby, how come Daniel Norris sounds so different than Kevin Barker and they're both from the same part of the country? Yeah, well, Jeff, because Bark's from the other side of the mountain. That's
yeah,
why.
I don't live in a van either.
No.
You're wrong once again.
Yeah, where's all this?
They're on speed dial. I told you.
You know what?
Just
and
wait.
of course, Gibby is the Mets bench coach.
Absolutely is.
How do you think?
I mean, you would think the greatest coach / manager in the history of the sport cleaned things up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'd think he'd figure it out. And New York boy.
Yeah, that is a that's a difficult.
Pete Alonso would look real good though in the Jays uni.
You've been banging this drum
I'm just telling you
forever.
right now.
We got to see. Isn't his hand being X-rayed?
Yeah, I know. I'm talking about a healthy one.
Oh.
Yeah.
So there you go. We got to skedaddle out of here. We're going to go and see some City Connect jerseys.
Yeah.
Some of us are.
Right under the bus, boy. Boy, you're good at that, ain't you? Huh?
Do not forget the City Connect jerseys will be out on social media in a little more than an hour, I believe. They'll be
How could we
unveiled tonight.
forget?
It'll
You
be
told
all
us
over
like
social
1,000
media.
times.
I'm doing what the people tell me. Friday, the jersey debuts on the field.
You better be
Monday
wearing
is the
that
Vlad.
tomorrow.
Shut up, Parker. Got to read this. Monday's the Vlad bobblehead giveaway. And Wednesday is the Blue Jays backpack giveaway with City Connect designs. See ya.